Hi, we are moving on to the second part of Unit 1, the elements of a text. And there are several questions that we're going to be answering in this part of the unit. We're going to be talking about the topic, main idea, and the details of a text, as well as how do we identify things like the author's point of view, purpose, tone, and audience, all of which are really important elements for you to be able to think critically and read critically. So these are the terms that we're going to be using and covering in this chapter. So by the end of this video, but also throughout the resources in D2L, please don't use this video as a substitute for those resources. It's important that you watch the video, but also access those resources and review that material. It'll give you a much broader understanding of the ideas. So you'll be covering these terms throughout this content. So we're going to start with comprehension and why it's so important that we understand the elements of a text and comprehend what we're reading. So I want you to think for a minute about why being a better reader would be a benefit for you. How would that help you in your life, in your career, in your studies? There are a lot of benefits to being able to read carefully and understand better what you're reading. And it goes beyond just getting your homework done for your English class. In all of your classes here at Delaware Tech, there's going to be reading involved. But also as an adult, you may need to read training manuals. You may need to do continuing education credits and stay current on what's happening in your field. You may need to subscribe to professional journals and continuously read about new equipment or new processes in your field. You may need to be able to stay current in order to stay relevant and keep your business afloat. So all of those are important elements of life that require reading. So you might say, I don't like to read, I never read if I don't have to. But sometimes as an adult, as a professional, as a business person, as a career person, you have to read. We're also going to just very quickly, I'm going to ask you to think about annotation. Annotation being the process of taking notes while you're reading, right? To underline things and circle things and write notes in the margins and draw arrows to connect ideas. That's annotation. So I want you to think about how could annotation support your comprehension of a text, understanding the text well. Think about that process. We're going to move on to identifying the topic first, and then comparing topic to main ideas. That's up next. But right now, the topic is basically a short word or a phrase that discusses what this reading is about. What is it about? That's what the question is. The topic is often in the title or right at the beginning of the chapter. You might be able to just skim through it and understand the topic right ahead or right at the beginning. Oftentimes, longer articles may also have subtopics, right? Which are smaller topics, more narrowly focused, that appear within the article. It's important to remember that the word or phrase that you choose as the topic, if I'm asking you to identify the topic, it has to be just right, okay? Some of you may know the Goldilocks and the Three Bears, right? Where the bed is too soft or the bed is too hard or the bed is just right. So that's what I'm kind of asking you to do when you talk about topic and main idea. Make sure that the topic is just the right size to cover the material that's in the article. Conversely, if you're writing an article and you already start with a topic, you want to make sure that the information that you put in that article is just the right size to fit under that umbrella, so to speak. So the example on the screen here, it's important to incorporate fresh fruit into a healthy diet. Apples, bananas, and strawberries are all great additions. Most fruit is full of antioxidants that are good for you. So if you were coming up with a topic that was too narrow, that didn't cover all of the information, you might say that this passage is about apples and bananas. But that doesn't give us enough information about the passage. We could also come up with a topic too broad, right? Too big. And we might say it's about a healthy diet. But that's also not really accurate. This passage is not about all of the elements of a healthy diet. It's really only about some of those aspects. So the just right topic for this passage is the health benefits of fruit. So that's what you want to do. You want to avoid topics that are too broad or too narrow and kind of come up with one that is just right. It just needs to cover exactly the material that's in the article, like an umbrella. The main idea actually needs to do the same thing. It also needs to be just right. The main idea and the topic are different, and sometimes students get those mixed up, but the difference is that the main idea is more focused. It answers the question, what about it? Not just like, what is this about? You could have 20 articles on the topic of vegetarianism, but each article would have a different main idea about vegetarianism, if that makes sense. The main idea may be stated or unstated. If it's unstated, that means you are not going to be able to point to it in the text anywhere, and you are going to have to come up with it on your own. We sometimes call that an implied main idea. And also keep in mind, I know that we're often taught that the main idea is right at the end of the first paragraph or something like that, but it really could be anywhere in the text. So just be aware of that. The topic and the main idea, as I said earlier, they're not the same thing. So these are some key differences about the topic, or between the topic and the main idea. A topic is usually a single word or phrase, whereas the main idea is typically a complete sentence that answers the question, what about the topic? In order to identify the details of a text, you're going to have to look through it carefully and try to figure out how is the author supporting his or her main idea. What evidence are they using in order to convince you that this main idea is accurate? So there are lots of different types of details that you can look for. Anecdotes, examples, facts, figures, statistics, quotations maybe. Sometimes an author might give you reasons, or they might provide you with results of something and let you kind of put the pieces together on your own. All of those are examples of supporting details. So you'll need to be able to identify a topic, a main idea, and details. This is really important later on in the course as you do your writing, because all of the writing assignments that you'll do in English 101 require you to identify the main idea and the author's three major, most significant pieces of supporting detail. You also will need to be able to identify the author's point of view, and the point of view is the author's perspective on a topic or their position, right? Do they support or oppose whatever it is that they're talking about? And in order to determine that, there are several things within a text that you'll look at. You can look at word choice, you can look at tone, purpose, audience, details, and main idea. All of those elements together should help you determine whether or not the author supports vegetarianism, for example, or opposes vegetarianism and thinks that it's a terrible idea. So when we talk about an author's purpose, what we mean is, why did the author choose to write this? And sometimes it's very clear that an author wrote something in order to persuade you, right, that you should try a vegetarian diet. But other authors might write with a more informative purpose. And so they're not really trying to convince you or persuade you. They're just giving you the facts, right? If you read an article that talks about the benefits and the disadvantages of being a vegetarian, that seems like it's a more informative article. Whereas if you read about somebody's own personal experience trying to go vegetarian for a month and how how hard it was for them, with lots of funny details and personal anecdotes, that might be an example of an article that was designed to entertain, right? So sometimes, actually many times, articles can have two purposes at once. So they're not always one or the other. In many cases, like commercials are entertaining, but also persuasive. Newspaper articles or magazine articles in many cases are trying to be informative, but they also want to entertain you so that you'll subscribe and come back and keep reading. So keep that in mind. In order to identify the audience, there's a whole series of questions that you should be asking. What is the source of this information? Where was it published? Who is intended to read this? What kind of language is being used? Are they using language that appeals to a younger audience, or are they using a lot of like jargon, right, which is specific vocabulary relating to a career field or a particular topic? If we were talking a lot about formative and summative assessments and measurable performance objectives, you might guess that the audience was educators or teachers. It's also good to look at the author and learn a little bit about them and try to figure out who is their typical audience. Like, who do they usually write for? Are they an international author? Do they usually write to other cultures? Or maybe they usually write for the Wall Street Journal, which would give us an idea of the kind of audience, the kind of person that they want to reach. And then finally, identifying the tone. This is also important because it really helps you to determine an author's point of view. Sometimes they don't come right out and say whether they're for or against vegetarianism. But if we look at the attitude or the emotion in the article, if we look at the word choice, right, whether they've used really positive words or really negative words, if they seem very emotive with lots of exclamation marks, those things can all help us determine whether or not an author opposes or supports an idea. We can get a clear sense of where they stand on the topic. And then that helps us when we're trying to decide whether or not we agree with this article or not, or whether we should learn from it. It helps us to know where the author stands so that we know whether we're being manipulated or not. If someone is very much for vegetarianism and they're writing a very persuasive essay and they're using a lot of positive language, then it's fine if we read that and think, oh, this person really wants me to be a vegetarian. Maybe I'll think about it. But if we don't realize that we're being persuaded and we don't recognize that we're not earning an objective or we're not getting an objective view, right? If we don't realize that there's some bias, then we could be unfairly swayed into being a vegetarian without getting the other side of the story. We might think that this is the objective set of facts, when really it's a very subjective, emotional appeal. So we have to be good critical thinkers. These are some of the tones that you can look for. If we were in a classroom, I would have you do this activity. Obviously, we can't do that online in a video, but I do want you to think about how you could use these tones or how you have used these tones in the past. And maybe just mentally try to come up with a couple of different sentences that exemplify these tones so that you can get a good sense of what to be looking for in a text the next time that you're reading one and trying to identify the topic, the main ideas, and the details. And then, of course, the audience, the purpose, the point of view, and the tone, all of which will help you to understand the text better. So that's Unit 1, Elements of a Text. I hope it's been helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to email me.